Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking a little bit about rugby, a little bit about watches, and as you can see from this watch that I've got here that's black on black on black, I'm dressed entirely in black. For those that are familiar with, the international rugby scene, we are going to be talking about the legendary New Zealand rugby team, the All Blacks. All right, welcome back. So as I said, we're going to be talking about rugby and we're going to be talking about this Bvlgari watch. So the sports team, the All Blacks, they internationally came out in 1905 and they just came out whooping that butt. I mean, they were just slaying the competition. It was unlike anything that anybody had seen before. Now, the team itself does predate that 1905 year that they kind of colloquially came up with the name, the All Blacks, which is of course based on how they're dressed. Their entire uniform, if you will, it consists of just black clothes, black cleats, black socks. But the team actually started back in 1884. And from 1884 up to 1905, they did wear white knickers. So the term All Blacks and the way that the team was kind of dubbed didn't actually start until 1905. And so that ends up being like the date that people associate with the beginning of this team. Now, again, they are extremely legendary. I mean, when they started in 1905, they went on a 34-game tour through North America and Europe, only lost one game. Right, so like throughout their entire history from 1905 up to 2019, their winning percentage was over 77%. Now, as an Atlanta sports team fan, I am extremely envious of this win-loss ratio because we don't compete with those type of stats. Now, they've got a couple of other elements, parts of during their time where they did really well. For instance, they have played against 19 different nations, of which 11 of them have never beaten this New Zealand rugby team, not one time. Now, they've also played against 3 multinational all-star teams, and out of 45 matches, they have only lost 8. So it is quite a phenomenal record. It's something that is world-renowned. It'll go down in history so far as the greatest rugby team of all time. And this watch was dedicated, it was designed and inspired by this particular team. So obviously we've got the black on black theme. If you look at the back of the case back, it does have it's a little hard to see through this smoked sapphire exhibition case back, but it does say it's got the All Blacks here and their logo is going to be that of a silver fern, which you'll find on their uniform. And you might not be able to see it in this video, just it is a darker crystal. It's not entirely clear. It is smoked, but it does have the team logo as well as the name. Now, the dial itself is considered the Maori dial. And so for those of you that aren't very well versed in New Zealand culture, the Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand. And so one of the members of the Maori actually designed this dial. They call it the Maori Tattoo dial, but it was actually designed by a member of the Maori. So it goes beyond just looks and colors and trying to wrap it around towards this team. I mean, they went a couple extra steps to really bring more of the culture and the history of the team into the development of this watch. Now, the watch itself is going to be a 41mm case size. It is stainless steel and it's going to have diamond-like carbon. So that's going to be the coating that adds what we see as this black finish to it. So you'll notice it on the bezel, you'll notice it on the case. Of course, it's got a black leather strap. Well, inside the crown, it even has like a ceramic insert. Now, on the inside of this watch is going to be powered by the Bvlgari. Of course, let me stop right there. We don't do a lot of videos on Bvlgari. And for me personally, when I first was introduced to this brand, which is an Italian fashion brand, it does not just consist of watches. They carry jewelry, cosmetic, fragrances, fashion accessories, but it's pronounced Bulgari even though it's spelled with a V. And the reason for that, just to kind of help everybody understand it, because I know I was confused for well over a decade after I'd been introduced to the name, but it dates back to like the classic Latin alphabet, where there was no distinction between a U and a V. So while it's pronounced Bulgari, it is spelled with a V. So just a quick little tip for you guys out there, just to really understand a little bit more about the brand as it is. But going back into the watches, right? So this is powered by the BVL 193. So this is going to be a movement that beats at 28.8, right? So that's 28,800 vibrations per hour. It's got a 50-hour power reserve. It does proudly show the time, not only in hours and minutes, which you can see with these luminous markers, but it also has, you know, a running seconds. Now at 3 o'clock, you'll also notice that there is a date dial, and there is a little bit of white contained in this dial. Around the outside where the minute marker track would be, all of the individual minutes, excluding what would be the hour markers, are, you know, white indices, if you will. Now, the watch does have 100 meters worth of water resistance, so it's going to be completely satisfactory for any sort of surface level water activity. So if you're, you know, running around, playing in the pool, you don't have to worry about the water. I would not necessarily go scuba diving in this watch. I probably wouldn't play rugby in it either. Most importantly, though, it's a leather strap. The leather itself is not going to have that same, you know, water resistant property. So the case of the watch does have this water resistance. It's an absolutely phenomenal piece. And one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about this piece was really just to kind of make light of an element that we find very common in the entire watchmaking industry. And that's going to be, you know, themed watches. Now, this one was about an international rugby team. We've done some on the Olympics with the Omegas. You know, there are Speedmasters, there are Carreras out there by Tag that all have, you know, some sort of history or a team or a sport that it's associated with. And I really just, I wanted to kind of explain that a little bit, because in the watch world, it's very common for very widely known and recognized names to create watches that have a similar style to a more traditional collection, but to put a spin on it with something that you can identify with that's not necessarily just about the watch. And this here is a very fine example of how they did that.